Chrisley knows best. Nanny Faye is mourning a devastating loss. It has been hard enough for her to have her son, Todd Chrisley, behind bars. She also battled bladder cancer, so that was another struggle. Now, the 78-year-old feisty grandma is dealing with a heartbreaking tragedy. So, what happened? Keep reading for more details. Nanny Faye mourns devastating loss. Chrisley knows best had spunk thanks to Nanny Faye Chrisley. Being the matriarch of the family, she was witty, silly, and never took herself too seriously. More so, Faye had no problem setting any and everyone straight while trying new things. She was also incredibly sneaky, getting into trouble here, there, and everywhere, which is why she was such a fan favorite. The show lasted even after Todd and Julie Chrisley were sentenced to a collective 19 years behind bars. Todd was still shaking his head at his mother, but she never minded because she was living her best life. Sadly, she was diagnosed with bladder cancer in 2021. She had credited her daughter-in-law, Julie, with helping her during that difficult time. Fortunately, she is now in remission, which has been a blessing. She even spent the holidays with Todd in 2023 as she had gone to Florida to see friends. Therefore, she was not going to miss out on the tradition of seeing her son for Thanksgiving. We have never been apart. He's 54 years old and we have never been away at Thanksgiving. Despite all that has gone on, she has kept her chin up, but now, Nanny Faye has suffered a tragic loss. It was shared that her sweet pup, Miley, had passed away. The sad news was shared on Reddit and Chrisley Knows Best fans were immediately heartbroken. They had seen Nanny and Miley all over town, even at the local Walmart. She never shied away from a photo or a kind hello, and followers always noted that. Not only was Nanny Faye a gift, but so was Miley, with the OP writing this. My heart bleeds for Nanny Faye RN. Losing a pet is never ever easy. Chrisley Knows Best fans remember Miley. Fans of the show immediately remembered Miley, and they were broken for Nanny Faye. They know the love of a pet, but more so, how much Nanny and Miley adored one another. I'm so sorry to hear about sweet Miley. I met her once in Walmart and she was precious. Condolences to Nanny Faye. I'm so sorry, Nanny. I pray that you can get some comfort soon. I know Miley was your sweet baby. Love you, Nanny Red Heart. So sad. She's come a long way to being Grayson's puppy to Faye's baby. She loved that dog so much. This is so hard, but hopefully Nanny Faye takes comfort in knowing how many fans adored Miley. They had a very special relationship that was and is timeless. Do you remember Nanny's days with Miley? Let us know in the comments below. In a dimly lit room filled with warmth and memories, Nanny Faye Chrisley sat in her favorite chair, her gaze drifting out the window to the rolling Tennessee hills. A soft breeze whispered through the open window, carrying with it the scent of autumn leaves. The crispness of the air was a stark contrast to the weight in her heart. Today was a day she never thought she would face, a day of mourning that felt all-consuming, a day when the person who had been her rock for so long was no longer by her side. Nanny Faye had always been a symbol of resilience on Chrisley Knows Best. She was the fiery, comedic matriarch who never let anything get her down. Whether she was pranking her son Todd or bantering with her grandkids, she was always a beacon of joy in the Chrisley family, lighting up every room she entered. But today, her light felt dim, overshadowed by grief. The loss of her beloved sister, Frances, had left a void that even her larger-than-life personality couldn't fill. As she sat quietly, memories of her and Frances' childhood played like a movie in her mind. They had grown up in the rural South, back when life was simpler, yet more difficult. They had learned to lean on each other during tough times, whether it was the loss of their parents or the many ups and downs life had thrown at them. The bond they shared was unbreakable. Frances wasn't just her sister, she was her best friend, her confidant, her partner in crime. Together, they had weathered the storms of life, from marriages and divorces to raising children and navigating old age. Now, Nanny Faye faced the harsh reality of doing it alone. The Chrisley household was unusually quiet. Todd, Savannah, Chase, and the rest of the family had been by her side since they got the news. They knew how much Frances meant to Nanny Faye, and they were doing everything in their power to support her, but no amount of love and attention could mend the aching hole left by her sister's passing. Even Todd, with his sharp wit and endless banter, had softened around his mother, offering her space to grieve. "Mom, do you need anything?" Todd asked softly as he entered the room, breaking the silence. Nanny Faye shook her head, her eyes never leaving the view outside. "No, Todd. I just need some time." Todd nodded, respecting her request. He had always been protective of his mother, but he knew that this was one storm he couldn't shield her from. As much as he wanted to fix everything, this was beyond his control. Grief had to run its course. Savannah, sitting on the couch nearby, wiped away a tear as she watched her grandmother. Nanny Faye had always been the strong one, the one who never let life's hardships get the best of her. Seeing her like this, so fragile, so heartbroken, was almost unbearable. "You know, Nanny," Savannah said softly, "Frances would want you to be happy. She wouldn't want you to sit here and be sad." Nanny Faye smiled weakly, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know, sweetheart. But it's hard. When you've known someone your whole life, and then they're just gone, it feels like a piece of you is gone too." Savannah moved closer, gently wrapping her arms around her grandmother. "But she's not really gone. She's still here, with you, in your heart and in your memories." Nanny Faye let out a deep sigh. "Memories are all I have left now. I just miss her, Savannah. I miss her so much." The family spent the next few days preparing for Frances' memorial service. They wanted to celebrate her life in a way that would make her proud. There would be laughter, stories, and memories shared, just as Frances would have wanted. Despite the grief, they knew that Frances had lived a full and beautiful life, and it was important to honor that. The day of the service arrived, and the small church where they gathered was filled with friends, family, and loved ones. It was a place where Frances had spent many Sundays, and it seemed fitting that this would be where they said their goodbyes. Flowers adorned the front of the church, and a large picture of Frances stood next to the pulpit, her bright smile forever captured in the frame. Nanny Faye sat in the front row, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Todd sat beside her, his hand on her shoulder, offering silent support. Savannah and Chase were on either side of her, their presence comforting, but there was no mistaking the deep sadness that lingered in the air. As the pastor spoke about Frances' life, Nanny Faye found herself lost in thought, her mind drifting back to their childhood once again. She remembered the long summer days they spent playing in the fields, their laughter echoing through the air.